So because maybe the task of calculating the economic cost of corruption is too daunting, they don't go there. I don't see that being pursued as one of the biggest economic costs or economic roadblocks that have to be overcome to find any solution, whether it is with the market or whether it's with the state.
Okay.
And why don't economists do that?
I think one of the things is that we tend to subsume it, the cost of corruption, into what we keep on talking about this ease of doing business, Joanne. So it is, when we say it takes so long for us to set up something here, we're talking about it takes that long for us to basically, pay off someone, or if we are honest to go through the system. When we talk about how licensing is a problem, what we're actually talking about is, of course, there are some people who don't need to go through.
In fact, you have a chapter that says honesty doesn't pay, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think
honesty flops.
Yes, and and it's a very pernicious idea that if you go through life trying to do things the right way, you are not rewarded. And I think in that argument, that chapter, I end by talking about Guru, the movie Guru, which I think is fundamentally problematic, because if you watched it in the hall, the climactic scene was the lead character based on somebody whom I don't know who it's based on, but the lead.
Rumor has it it's based on.
No. All right, could be based on anyone. All right, but the lead character, who is a successful capitalist under, a particular kind of licensing corrupt state, standing up and yelling at the, people trying to hold him to account, saying "Ke tum kaun ho?" And I think, and it's fine for that to happen, but the real tragedy was that you sit in a hall and you hear people clapping for someone defending
corruption,
defending bad stuff, defending himself having done bad stuff in some ways, because this is the world
that is the mahal.
So that is where, yes, agar
and that disincentivizes a lot of potential
good people,
entrepreneurs.
Why do I not want to ever run a small business in this country, at least until it changes completely?
Yeah, so it disincentivizes people from, So I mean, I just find it worrying and curious that people who, talk about themselves as economists and have written a lot in the newspapers, they argue every day one way or the other, completely just overlook this part of the argument. And
the economists are right.
That's worrying.
So let me sort of give you a sociology of this. The economists who write in Indian papers are not by and large academic economists, unless they are academic economists from the US.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know.
So this is the case. So if you have an academic economist writing in the Indian paper, it's probably Prabhat Patnaik or a leftist of a particular kind, or Utsav Patnaik or so on.
So they're from JNU probably.
Yeah, well. All right. So they come at the problems. For their idea, corruption is caused by the United States.
Okay.
All right.
So it's an ideological position. It's not really corruption position.
Corruption, obviously, that is how the petty bourgeoisie, or whatever, that guy. I really should not be sounding sarcastic about this. They have a logical, coherent.
But it's coming from an ideological
from that particular ideological position. It doesn't necessarily help us as much as it could. A lot of the other people who are writing about economics in the papers are what I would say practicing economists. So they work for banks, they work for consultancies, they work for themselves as fund managers, or they work for newspapers to the extent that I am an economist. So they're not from an independent economic academy in India. Or they are somebody like Kaushik or somebody else writing from the US, who by and large are within the US Academy. Now, as somebody who, was in the US Academy and failed to do anything, failed to finish his degree and so on and so forth, I can tell you one of the problems there was that I, as a grad student, faced was that the problems that I thought mattered for the Indian economy, such as, let us say, corruption, weren't things that you could necessarily explain.
Okay.
Or even weren't addressed there means that if I wanted to address them, nobody would stop me from addressing them. It's just that it wouldn't be the best thing for my career. Because I'd have to really explain why it mattered to my advisor.
Because what is left in America may not be so left here, and what's left here would be far left
exactly there. And what I need to explain, even if I need to explain it as a problem, they'd understand what American corruption looks like. So there would be any number of things. If I went to them and said that, look, if I want to talk about post-retirement jobs, or I want to talk about lobbying in India, they say, oh great, we know what this is.
But lobbying in America and India are two very different things.
But if I want to talk instead about the nature of the public-private partnership, that doesn't exist as a concept, in public economics in America and in the US Academy. So how the hell can I?
And we've seen how it played out here.
Yes. There's no. What I want to say is that for all our problems, there is in modern economics, there is absolutely no playbook for these guys to use. There is nothing that tells us this is why PPPs can work, should work, may work, how they may work. There is nothing about these are the costs of corruption as it exists here. There is no way I can pick up that playbook or that economic toolbox and start using it here. So it has to come from an Indian, non-ideological economic academia, and that we don't have.
I'm going to grab onto something you said there, that people who have been trained in their economics overseas in America. You said you didn't finish a degree.
Oh yeah,
what degree did you not finish?
It was massively humiliating. At one point, I was standing in. I was in my graduate school program for years and years, and I would start writing a thesis, and it didn't go anywhere, and it was I'd lose a little bit more hair.
So you were doing a PhD then?
I was doing a PhD, right? And at one point, I was actually standing photocopying something in one of the corridors in my department, and this professor passed, and I do not. To this day, I do not know whether he was being sarcastic or he was mocking me or he was genuine, a nice, sweet man. And he said, didn't we have your younger brother with us last century or something? And that's the point at which I knew, okay, this is
I
really...
should go back home.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to grab onto something you said there, that they're steeped in an economic model or have studied economic models in the US. And I listen to a lot of podcasts discussing economics, and I must say that the discussion on capitalism versus communism or socialism, markets versus the state are a lot more well-informed and smart over there than they are here, even though they're very, not socialist at all in an ideological sense. But exactly that logic of people who make policy in India, if they are not from the Indian context, from having experienced what you and I have experienced, isn't it inevitable that they will come up with really crappy prescriptions? And isn't that a real problem with the Manmohan Singh model, where he just planted people from an environment where they know jack shit about India and said, ab ye solve karo? Hasn't that been a big problem of the Manmohan Singh government?
Actually, no, I disagree. I think that a lot of the solutions that they put into place were incorrect ones. Were incorrect ones. But I don't think that was a product of...
Okay, forget him. Generally, do you think that's a problem for anyone who's making policy for India?
I don't think that the Indian government has ever had that many people from abroad come in. At best we have...
If not in numbers, but in the influence they have.
Never. It is... Like, do not get misled by Montek Singh Ahluwalia's accent, for example. He's completely desi. Don't get misled by... in fact, in the Vajpayee government, in the Rao government, Swami was foreign trained, for example. He was in the Chandrasekhar government. But, I don't think anyone is more rooted in the obsessions and confusions of India than Subramanian Swami, right?
But then, now we're going to the other extreme.
But what matters is that you spend a reasonable amount of time here trying to soak up exactly how this system works, and then you figure out, what the solutions that you think should be applied. We, in fact, have been a lot better than most other countries in not picking up the answers that are cookie cutter answers from the rest of the world. Okay, I think we have by and large not done that. And maybe we have not done that in many ways. Okay, let me put it this way. Whenever I go to someone in government and I say, okay, this is the solution to the problem that you're facing that I advocate. This is the one that I've written about in a couple of columns. Why not, this is because these are global best practices. This has worked here and not worked here. I feel India is more like this. They don't even listen to the idea of global best practices. So they think a lot more like you than you imagine. All right, it is, we're not interested in what has worked elsewhere. We're interested in the Indian context. This is in fact now one of the few people who is the exact opposite of this. Is Arvind Kejriwal.
Okay.
Modi is not like this. Modi is not. Modi just sees, Modi has seen a big thing, let's say in China, and he'll come back and think that why not happen here? Which is, I don't want to question this. This is the kind of big thinking that
we need.
We need and people respond to, right? So, but if you read Kejriwal's Swaraj, which I suspect you may have, there's an entire set of chapters where he's talking about, or in a lot of cases, this is what worked in Brazil.
Oregon,
this is what worked in Oregon. This is what worked in different places, and that is something that is very interesting. That I wish more people did. So, no, I disagree with you that by and large,
prescriptions aren't coming from.
What I'm talking about very specifically is the toolbox of academic economics. Economics as a discipline, all right? If I wanted to Google for academic papers the way that Anand Rangarajan does on a daily basis whenever he wants to win an argument, all right?
Anand is...
he's a fine Googler and user of JSTOR.
Is a writer is a consulting editor, and he's fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic Googler.
And you and he have ideological difference on Twitter all the time, and you're always fighting with each other.
Why not use newslaundry as a method?
I wish. In fact, we should run a sort of hafta when Anand is here. We have great. We should actually. It'll be fun.
So, to what was I saying? Yeah, to return to the point. I mean, if you look for prescriptions for our problems in the academy, in the academic output of economics in general, you won't really get them. That's what I'm talking about more than the people. Now, I'll give you one tiny little story about me coming back from the US, looking for a job in India, and a lot of the jobs that I was looking for and got offered were, remember this is 07, 08, the height of the boom just before things went bad, was in infrastructure finance. All right, and because that was where the money was then, I was to a certain degree able to...
Although 07, 08 was when Lehman happened, right? 07.
So this is before Lehman. So I came back at the end of 07 and I was looking for a job for a few months thereafter, right? And every single thing that I sort of interviewed for or was offered, I looked at the stuff they were doing and it confused the hell out of me. Because I was looking at this, does not make sense to me. How is this being financed? How are these projections being...
The sums didn't add up, and they still don't in so many cases.
But nobody at that point was talking about how the sums didn't add up, and I thought I was the fool. All right? And the truth was that I was a fool because I didn't understand this system operated completely differently.
That's not just true for India, Mihir. I mean, even if you see pre-Lehman, other than a couple of commentators, the sums weren't adding up even then. But by and large, the American, economic...
Let me say they were a lot less blatantly wrong than Thank you. They were a lot less blatantly wrong in high finance on Wall Street than they were in how we calculated the number of people who were going to use the Delhi-Gurgaon toll road here.
Okay.
So,
fair enough.
So here you looked at those sums which are so blatant right there, third paragraph, it was not even difficult to see how they were...
Yeah, but it's not unique, what I'm saying is, to here. I mean, we've seen it elsewhere. Sorry, we'll just move on to the last few questions. And I really want to invite you for a hafta when Anand is here. Because I disagree with Anand a lot of things, as you've heard on hafta, but I think he's a really bright guy and he can really get to the heart of a problem. So it'll be very interesting to have you and him on a hafta together. Now, coming to general, writers, which are your favorite newspapers? Which ones do you turn to in the morning? Which are the op-eds that you think add value to your life?
The op-eds, well, obviously, I think we run the best newspaper and the best...
That's the Business Standard. Plug.
This is the
Plug the book also. Restart by Mihir Sharma, Business Standard.
This is the Business Standard. Please ask your news agent for it. We run the best opinion pages and the best policy coverage in the country. It will vastly improve your life. After that, all right. After that, I think I read the Express. I still think that their opinion pages are on the ball in a way that a lot of other people...
Still think, matlab?
I still think Mane, although I no longer work there.
Okay, you used to work there.
I used to work there, and of course they're not as good as they were when I was there.
but they're still pretty good.
But they're still awesome, all right? Other than that, I feel opinion page-wise, I don't think that we work hard enough. I think the Telegraph is really good.
Okay.
The Telegraph
you're saying that because you're from Kolkata. And
no.
everyone who's from, I shouldn't say Kolkata, right? I should say Calcutta.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But no, it's not because of any loyalty to the Telegraph. But it's just that actually that they do a lot more than most of the other newspapers you have on your wall here.
Okay.
For example, I feel the Hindustan Times and the Times of India both de-emphasize their opinion in a way that I don't think is a good idea.
And as far as reportage is concerned?
As far as reporting is concerned, I like the way the Express takes a story and then runs with it in a particular way. They do their series, they headline it interestingly, sometimes in a way that infuriates people
it gets reactions.
in one way or the other. But when it comes down to it, the best newspaper in terms of reporting in this country is the Times of India by a large margin. And I think that everyone who complains endlessly about the Times of India in the media is reading it every day, cover to cover, because that's where they get their stories. All right. Don't let anyone claim that the Times of India does not run story X. They eventually run it. What they eventually mean is that they didn't give it the prominence that, you know, the complainer would have liked.
But you think their whole editorial approach has compromised the credibility or no?
Yes, of course it's compromised their credibility. I'm not talking about the credibility.
But not the numbers.
I am talking about, does the story that you want to read, has it appeared first in the Times of India? Is it somewhere in the Times of India? Do they have more bench strength than anybody else? Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. And do you think there is merit in the criticism that the English media is extra harsh on Modi and was not as harsh on Manmohan, you being probably the cheerleader of that lot in the perception? Do you think there's merit to that?
I think that the English media was not as harsh on Manmohan at various points in his term as they should have been. I think they were, and when they were harsh on him, I think they were harsh on his personality and not harsh on his decisions. And I have nothing but contempt for that.
Okay.
Right? And so this is part of the reasons why I think that I defend Manmohan more than everybody. It's like, oh, this is a weak man. Oh, why is he holding on to power? This kind of bullshit from people who were, while he was apparently powerful, were, you know, prostrating before him, saying, oh God.
But see, all industrialists are like that.
This is not about industrialists. This is about columnists. This is reporters. This is people on dining room tables across the country. Okay, this is the people watching this. It is not about.
But people who want access. See, everyone who want access to him can say nice things. You see that with journalists who were trashing Modi earlier are so kind to him now. It's all about access, isn't it?
But okay, all right. We can make excuses for these.
I think it's.
We can give reasons for this.
I think it's still terrible. What I'm saying is, I think it is. Like you said, I hold these people in contempt, as in not in contempt. I am contemptuous of these people, but that is inevitable. It wasn't unique to Manmohan. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. My further point is, are they being too harsh on Narendra Modi? Arey, what are you talking about? You know, I will admit, one of the maybe 8 or 9 people writing a regular column in English in this country who is least likely to be to have a favorable opinion of something that the Prime Minister has done. On the other hand, the front pages of pretty much every newspaper have glowingly report the stuff that he does.
Sure. What about television channels?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
So you think there's no merit to the argument that they were kinder to Manmohan than they are to, I mean, that they were to Manmohan.
Look, I think that they may have been kinder to Manmohan in 2004, but that was a very different media from the one that we have now. All right. I do not think they were kinder to Manmohan overall in his career than they have been to Modi so
his
far.
career has just begun.
Modi's career has been around for a while, all right?
As a chief minister.
As a candidate, let me go further and say, as a candidate, the media, both as newspapers and as TV, across languages, and I include social media here, and I include startups, and I include everything, did not hold Narendra Modi to the standards that they should have If he was running a presidential style campaign, the media should have asked him, what, sir, are the specific programs that you will put into place to turn the...
Why ask only him that?
Ask everybody else.
Yeah. So what
but Narendra Modi was not the one saying that the UPA was saying the economy is fine as it is. All right. So let's not even go there. All right. But he was the one who was saying the economy is screwed, and I am the guy who will come and fix it.
Okay, coming to you specifically.
Yeah.
Do you think there's merit in the criticism that you are way too kind to Manmohan and to Modi? You may have reasons for it, but do you think, as a Martian who landed and said, Mihir Sharma, let me read his pieces, do you think someone could draw that conclusion? Do you see that in yourself?
I think that a lot of people, absolutely. I think that right now, I have a lot of sympathy for a guy who's down. And
even when he was up?
He wasn't up.
No, what I'm saying is,
from day one, he was down. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll give you an example. When he's prime minister,
he was number 2, and everyone was pretending he was number 1 for a really long time.
But when he's prime minister,
because they were idiots. I don't know why.
When he's prime minister, when you have the
number 2 in the country, let's face it, day 1, number 2.
I'm saying he's number 2 in the country. Not even number 2. I think he's number 11.
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay. He is irrelevant, and I personally disagree that just because you are not number 1, then walk. You have to take the criticism that comes with the position that you occupy.
Yeah.
But you would not hold him responsible, Sir D. Raja, what he did. And there are certain places you've been critical of him for his policies, but you've been kind that this wasn't his call, it wasn't that call. However, in case of Modi, some loony in saffron yogi says somewhere there, I know you will with glee say, let me say, Modi, what is your people? How is he responsible for that guy? One second. While Manmohan isn't responsible for his minister.
Because Manmohan Singh did not run as...
But he's the prime minister, yeah.
So did he run as that?
But that doesn't matter. He is the prime minister. How can you not hold him responsible for that?
Do not feel lost in the naming.
This is love.
Understand what lies behind these things. He had a very specific position, and that position should not have come as a surprise to you. The constraints that he operated under should not have come as a surprise to you.
But the criticism is inevitable then,
no, the criticism is stupid.
Why? Because
you are pretending he has a bunch of constraints, which he does not have a bunch of constraints, which in fact he does. Whereas with Modi, now you are pretending, or not you, but people are pretending that he has a bunch of constraints, which in fact he does not.
I'm not saying he doesn't have constraints. What I'm saying is,
I'm saying it is fundamentally irrational to say that Modi cannot control these people just the way that Manmohan cannot control D. Raja, because they do not have the same powers in those two situations. Even if you call them the same thing.
You genuinely believe that Modi can, just 1 second Mihir, that Modi can control some sadhu or sadhvi somewhere who shoots the mouth off in a speech.
Maharaj, one of the people whom he supposedly cannot control, is one of the people who is in the running.
He has been rewarded with UP, Shupi, whatever.
What are we talking about?
But not just him. I'm just saying there are many like that. You think it is fair to hold Modi responsible for those people and not Manmohan responsible for his ministers, his cabinet. You think that's fair?
Absolutely. Shall I tell you something?
Okay.
Did Narendra Modi write to these people specifically?
Write to them specifically?
As and when they were saying these issues.
Okay, did he say that?
Did he say to them?
Okay.
Did he talk to them?
I don't know.
No. Do we know this? Do we know this in the public domain?
Okay, not in the public domain.
Did Manmohan do this to D. Raja? Is it in the to A. Raja? Is it in the public domain?
What? He took him off?
Did he take him off and say, please don't do this? Is it in the public domain, Abhinandan?
When the 2G scam happened, he gave Raja a clean sheet, and there was that.
Did he write to him a series of letters?
When are you talking about?
When Raja was taking the 2G decisions, at that point, did the Prime Minister write?
Yes, he advised him that this is
several times.
Yes.
Where is Modi's equivalent?
But what?
Where is Modi's equivalent? Yes or no? None. Then the equivalent breaks down right now.
If your minister,
Modi has not spoken to that person.
We don't know.
Has he done it in the public domain?
But that is not because it's a policy issue.
Now you're saying, oh, one is a policy issue, one is not a. So again, two differences.
Yeah.
Fine. So then again, it's not comparable.
Fine. Okay. So that is your difference. Okay. So you think it is fair
it's bloody incomparable.
Okay. Okay. So you will still continue to defend Manmohan cabinet's decision
on the matter of is it a decision of a cabinet or is it a decision of a minister? I think what is very interesting is that the argument that A. Raja always used was, this is a cabinet decision. If you want that, it is my power to allot these licenses using the procedures that I want. The cabinet has given me this power. The correct criticism of Manmohan should have been, why did he not convene the cabinet and overrule this?
Fine.
There are many ways in which you want to do this.
We'll drop this now because this is, it's like.
But there's a level of stupidity about how Manmohan is criticized for this that I get irritated by.
Okay, I personally don't think it's stupid. I think it's justified. However, we'll agree to disagree. Any favorite journalist?
If you enjoyed that, click up here to support us and down here to subscribe. Be sure to check out our older episodes and the other stuff we do, like Can You Take It, I Agree, panel discussions, comics and animations, and much more.